Okay, this video addressing, I guess, I've done a couple of videos on bullying, eating nurses eating their young. That's the colloquial term, I guess. I didn't even know what that meant. And I said in my previous video on that, I was like, I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, what does that even mean? Eating their own young, basically, is older veteran nurses picking on newbies, basically hazing. Back in the day when I was in football, playing football in high school, that was pretty much the norm. No, I wouldn't say the norm. Excuse me. No, that's not the norm. It was just beginning to get phased out. My brother, who's 5 years older than me, oh yeah, it was a ritual. It definitely was a ritual. And to go on to that, there was an incident, and he told me in graphic detail, and it was because of someone who bullied me when I was a little child. I was maybe like 8 or 9, and a group of my friends, and then that bully unfortunately crossed paths with my brother on the football field, and my brother gave it back to him. I mean, my brother had always pestered me who the bully was. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal to me. I never fessed up, never gave up the name, because it was stuff I wanted to handle on my own. It was just you grow up that was what we did back in the day. But we were a group of kids, and it was a group of other bigger kids, like maybe they were like 13, 14, and we were like 9 or 10, and they were picking on us. One of my friends gave it up really quick. He cried to his mom and did it. Not to shame him or anything like that. It's just that he didn't have an older brother to protect him. He wasn't brought up in that kind of environment. I mean, my brother used to beat on me. I mean badly. So I was like, you're gonna protect me? You're the one beating me. The worst bully in my life is you, dude. So, but be that as may, the point of that story is a year later or 2 years later, whatever, unfortunately that guy crossed paths with my brother. And my brother, he was like, I think he was captain of the defensive team. And he was a defensive lineman. He's a big guy. He's like twice my size easily. Even now, he's probably like that. I've caught up a bit to him, but he's still big. And this guy was a small freshman. My brother was a senior. This is my father. A Freudian slip, I guess. And hazing was accepted. I mean, the coach condoned it. I was like, what? Even then, I was like, that's not right. It was a ritual. He said, we do it all the time, but we just did it extra to this guy. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. So it's a hazing ritual. I mean, you hear about it in NFL, you hear about it baseball, where they play pranks. It's more pranks. They stick the rookie with the couple $1,000 food bill, dinner bill. Hey, the whole team's going out to dinner. And they don't tell the rookies that they're paying until at the very end, by, whatever. So it's a ritual, so in a lot of places it's kind of accepted, but it's obviously not accepted these days. And back in the day for nursing, it was rampant. I speak with older nurses. They're like, yeah, that was just, it's like, they had smoking lounges. I was just talking to somebody, and it's like, yeah, you guys used to have smoking lounges. You used to have smoking breaks. Forget about coffee breaks now. I mean, you had smoking breaks where doctors and patients, even, nurses, obviously, everybody would go and smoke on the premises, on the unit. And I'm like, what about all the oxygen and stuff? And the nurse was laughing. She was just like, yeah, that's the way it goes. She had been a nurse. She's been a nurse. Wow. At least 12, 15 years in that range. Compared to me, I'm a new grad nurse. I'm unfortunately an older guy though. I'm 51 years old. I've been a nurse for now a year and a half. I'll be a baby nurse probably until I'm 60. That's the way I look at it. So that's a little quick background on myself. So I do come into the industry from a completely different perspective. Obviously, I have a manufacturing perspective. This is my second career. And I saw some of that still, but it is quashed pretty quickly. It's frowned upon, especially on my unit. You see a little bit of it. It's really passive aggressive. You cannot be overt. Not that I do it at all. We quash that. We step in, actually. And I'll be honest, we don't actively quash the bully unless it's really bad. I haven't seen that though. But it's kind of like you protect the bullied person, and then the bully realizes that, oh, okay, I better stop. The herd is coming in to protect the weak, and I'm going to get my ass trampled on. And then they stop. The bullies stop. I've seen that happen at least. I'm trying to remember the instances. I would say 2 to 3 times, maybe a couple of times more than that. I mean, obviously that's just when I'm on the unit. So could it happen every day? Basically, yeah. It depends on whoever's doing it. The individuals, and it's almost always the same individuals. It doesn't have to be old-time nurses. They were relatively young nurses, and they're no longer in our unit. Okay, and unfortunately, it's not like they were pushed out, but it wasn't tolerated. It wasn't, and maybe some of the older nurses spoke to them. I keep saying older, the more veteran nurses, because I'm an old effing nurse, but I'm a young baby practicing nurse, so I'm still a baby nurse. The veteran nurses, let's say that. I'm a newbie nurse. Maybe we differentiate it that way. But the newbie nurses are the ones that are easily picked on. We don't have our established cliques, and we don't have much of a herd, supposedly, right? Now is an interesting time in our industry because there are a lot of newbie nurses. There are a lot. Normally you only see 1 or 2 pass through the unit at a time. Like my resident class was me and someone else. That's it. And then there was another cohort after us, like 2. And then there was another cohort 2. And then all of a sudden you started seeing a pickup. Then it was like 4. Then it was 6. In our unit. Now I think there's like 8. It's quite significant, the jump, because of the nursing shortage. A lot of our veteran nurses have gone traveling, have switched units. I've said this in the past. Our unit funds and feeds a lot of other units. A lot of CCU, intensive care, and ER nurses come from our unit. It's weird. I see their names now, like they're the referring nurse from the ED, and I'm like, oh, that's where such and such is. Oh, hey, they're working tonight. People I've worked with. I worked as a tech with. I worked as a nurse with. Now they're it's like 1/3 of the nurses down there are nurses that just moved there. So it's kind of funny that they move laterally, and that's great for them. But that leaves our unit depleted. And so you see a huge influx, and that's just what I can say about my unit. But I got a mailer from the administration, and I had suspected it was kind of system-wide. Sure enough, it's system-wide. I mean, they were just announcing 35 new nurses coming in the day after, on Monday. They're like, oh, by the way, there's 35 of these guys coming in. I was like, holy shit, 35. This is no longer 2 or 3. I was like, what? Wow. It was just bam. By the way, you're going to see a flood of, welcome our new members. And I was like, wow. So, whereas a lot of people have asked, they're like, I guess they researched it and say nurses eating their young, bullies, bullying, and especially for women, because we are still 85% plus female dominated. But that is down from probably 95% or 99% probably 30 years ago, and probably 95% maybe 20 years ago. And I saw these figures somewhere in nursing school, and I remember my professor very proudly announcing that our class had like 10% or a little higher than 10%. 10%. They were like, we have above 10%. That's above the average. And I was like, wow, that sucks. But that's what it is. That's our industry is geared toward women. And not geared toward women, but, it's predominantly women. And women, from what a male perspective, you guys bully a lot. I mean, yeah, you see boys bully other boys. You see it, But that's I don't want to see not the norm. It is kind of the norm, but it's uncommon to overtly see it. You'll see it. You'll definitely see it. I'm not saying, oh, you won't see it. No, you'll see it. But women, the bullying is rampant, and it's everywhere. It's just passive aggressive. I've learned to pick up on those. And I was like, oh shit, what the? It's like unusual not to see it. That's the thing. That's the differential. Where it's you can see it for boys. It's uncommon. It's common. It's not even common. It's almost universal. It's ubiquitous for women. And that's the horrible thing. So I understand where a lot of new nurses come in. They're like, I hear it's horrible. Nurses eating their young. And I say, yeah, it used to be. Now you won't find that as much. I didn't say you're not going to. So I'm not here saying to you it doesn't exist. I'm not here blowing smoke up your butt saying, hey, yeah, no, it's a much better environment. It is a much better environment, but is it still there? Yes. Even one is intolerable, is what I'm saying. But the difference is it is recognized now. That's the difference. Back in the day, it was like, no, that didn't even exist. It's like total denial that it even freaking existed. They're like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. Now, it's like there's a process. Oh, it's like a check mark. It's like a charter. there's a box for it now. So, what's an equivalent, like pronouns. Back in the day, it was Mr. or Mrs. That's it, right? That's it. There's no pronouns. Now you have pronouns included in a lot of forms. How would you like to be addressed? So it is a new thing. Bullies and stuff, nurses eating their young, this is recognized. And the management tries very hard to stamp it out. I like to think it's altruistic, but it's probably more that they don't want the new nurses to quit, because they invest a lot of time and money and resources to training new nurses, bring them on board, and all of a sudden they quit because they can't take this, emotional abuse, mental abuse from their peers. So I like to think it's altruistic, but realistically, it's probably more monetary. This is going on 13 minutes. I ate up like half of the time giving you a bullshit story. I'm sorry, but I wanted to give you a little background that on the bullying aspect, it is in a lot of industries. And back in the day, speaking from a 51-year-old guy, it was norm. It was like people smoking. It smoked on TV, smoked in the movies. You drank. You had advertisements for alcohol and smoking. It was the norm. Now all that stuff is illegal. It's illegal. You get not sued, but you get your license, your broadcast license taken away and shit. So, I mean, it's a totally different animal. It's a totally different world, right? And in nursing, it's the same thing in the sense that it's a totally different world. Does it still exist? Is there still advertising to some degree of smoking alcohol? Of course. It's just not as rampant. It's not as accepted. Now in our industry, it's not accepted. And be comforted that you're likely going to be with peers. So you will have your little cohort, little tribe, a little newbie tribe. If you come work with me, I the veterans, and I'm not a veteran, but I'm saying the people that have been there before, but also a lot of the veterans do protect the noobs. That's what we do, because we don't tolerate. Maybe they had some bad experiences, but it is what we taught on our unit to not tolerate any of that crap. And that's one of the reasons why I like my unit, even though it's a real hard unit. I do like it. It's a very cohesive family unit, as the co-workers are very family tight knit. And you knew who the bullies and not the pleasant people were, and they were kind of put on the periphery. Did that encourage more of their bullying because they're lashing out? Maybe. But I'll tell you, I did try to approach a number of them, and I tried to be whatever, and maybe the emotional hurt on their side was just too deep, and you can't just do it. You can't fix that or even address that with a casual hello, good morning, how are you doing? Try to, elicit conversations. And it's also hard because I'm an opposite gender. I did not see anything from male gender stuff on our unit. Not to say I haven't seen it from male nurses. I have seen it from male nurses. But male on male nurses, we handle bullying a little differently. It's like somebody said recently, like when males talk to males, there is always an undercurrent of a threat of violence. So you can push a guy so far, be prepared. He's going to smash your face. Okay? That's just the way guys handle it. We are testosterone driven and we are hunter gatherers. We are warriors. That's the way we are. If somebody pushes me too far, I'm a nice guy, but I do have a line in the sand. You push me too far, I'm going to rip your throat out. That's the way it is. I might be a nurse, but I'm still a guy. That's the way it is. I'm sorry. Don't tread on my family. You're going to pay for it. It's just the way it is. Women, same thing. Don't get me wrong. You have mother bear instincts too. But women are much more passive aggressive, right? I mean, women could chime in on this. They're going to slice you 1,000 times. Little cuts. Guys, we're going to go right for the, jugular. We're going to go, we go for the headshot. Bop, 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 Women are like, no, I'm going to just let you bleed to death slowly with all these paper cuts. It is, different ways. So, I don't know. This is beginning to be a little soapboxy, but I wanted you guys to understand that, yes, there are bullying. There is nurses eating their young. It's not as common as before. It just can't be. The management can't tolerate it because they lose too much money. It's about a money issue, in my opinion, because nurses quit. We've had people quit. I was just talking to the nurse I was telling about that had 15 years experience. There was an instance, she was like, yeah, that young nurse quit. She just couldn't take the grief anymore. She couldn't take it was just the work and that, and she felt bad. She's like, I don't know how much she was involved in it. We were just shooting the breeze. This is not in my facility. This is way back in the day. So, it happens. And then the administration, the organization loses out on a valued member. And that's, I think, where a lot of the management's response to that is nowadays. They're like, wait, we can't lose talent. We're gonna be screwed. Besides being sued, we're gonna be screwed. All right. All these bully videos take a long time, but there's a lot of definition behind it, a lot of explanation. It's not as simple as that. I might reshoot this. This is just too long. All right. Good luck, guys.